Alright guys, back again with another video. In my last video, I told you about transmuting energy and how you have a choice in how you perceive things and how you allow it to affect you in your life. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about how your perception actually shapes your reality and also how to change your perception to better suit you. Alright, I'm going to start off by saying something that might sound a little crazy if you're not familiar with it. If you're not familiar with quantum physics, if you're not familiar with the double slit experiment, this might sound a little bizarre to you. Scientists did a study called a double slit experiment. And basically what it's saying is when you're observing something, it's in a different form than when you're not observing it. When we're not observing things, it literally changes form. Matter itself, everything we know it as in this world that we live in, when we're not observing it, it does not exist in the form that we see it when we observe it. It might sound strange to you. It might be hard to comprehend what I'm saying if you're not into this kind of stuff. But basically, you could compare it to like a video game. How when you're not looking at things in a video game, it has no form. And then when you look at it, it materializes and it loads up into the form that it's supposed to be in said game. Scientists have proven that our reality that we live in is just like that. So, in saying all that, this leads me to my next point. There's a book that you should check out called The Holographic Universe. Once again, it's called The Holographic Universe. I forget the name of the author. I'll put it in the edits. One of the things they talk about in this book was near-death experiences. And many people who have near-death experiences where they died and came back alive or almost died, they talk about their life flashing before their eyes. They talk about going to the light. But the interesting factor in this is that depending on your belief system before said experience happens is going to determine on the experience you have when you go through this. I believe they call it an NDE or near-death experiences. If you're religious, you would perceive it as you coming in contact with angels or with God or in heaven. If you're not religious, you might see it as you coming in contact with a beam of light or talking to light beings or talking to whatever it is you believe in is the experience you have once you have one of these near-death experiences. And this is really interesting. I say all that to say your perception controls your reality in this life and in the next. So it is very important to watch how you perceive things in this world. So I want to tell you how important your perception really is. So they did a study on people with multiple personality disorder. And as you know, multiple personality disorder are basically people who live life with multiple different personalities and they experience life as different people depending on what personality that comes forth at different times throughout their life. And they did a study on these kind of people, and basically one personality would get burnt, for example, or would get hurt real bad or break a bone or something like that. Then when that individual went into another personality, the injury that they experienced in the other personality that had the injury no longer exist. So as they change personalities, the injury, the illness, whatever that they had in a different personality no longer exists once they change. It sounds crazy, but this is true. This has been proven, and they have done tons of studies on this. And if you don't believe me, look it up yourself. Also, there were certain studies done on hypnotists and their ability to control people once they put them in a trance-like state. One of the tests that they did was this hypnotist put this girl under a trance, and he told her that this other individual did not exist that was in the room, that she could see straight through him, that he was not there. And after he brought this girl out of the trance that she was in, he was standing behind the individual that he told her didn't exist, and he had an object in his hand, and he did not tell her what object it was that he had in his hand, nor did anyone see this object before doing this experiment. And the girl was able to explain the exact object that he had in his hand. I believe it was a watch, and she was also able to explain the time on the watch as the guy that he told her did not exist was standing right in front of her. That is another example of how your perception actually controls the reality that you live in and that you experience. It's more than just a cute saying, guys. So I'm gonna just throw a couple of more examples out there before I get into my next point. Um, there was also studies done on people, I believe it was in India, with the ability to materialize things out of thin air. As I said, if you don't believe me, look it up yourself. I'm not here to convince you. I'm just here to see if I can impact anyone's life if you'll listen to me. So they did studies on these people who claim to have been able to materialize things out of thin air. And in doing the studies, it was proven that certain individuals on this planet have the ability to materialize things out of thin air, such as coins, rocks, and other random objects. The last example I'm going to give is Buddhist monks. Now, if you're like me, you've heard of Buddhist monks being able to do some pretty crazy things. I remember when I first heard that some of them were able to walk on water or change the temperature in their body or walk across hot lava on the ground and barefooted and not feel any pain. These things were uncomprehendable to me back in the day before I gained the knowledge that I now have, which is your perception really does create your reality. Because if you did not see a certain thing as being impossible, you have the ability to learn how to just do that thing that other people might perceive as impossible, because impossibilities don't exist. We have no limitations once you realize your true essence and your true power as a limitless being. Okay, so the reason why it might be difficult for some people to comprehend this stuff or even to believe some of this stuff is because we've been programmed our whole life. There's a such thing called preemptive programming. Once again, it's called preemptive programming. Now, we're programmed through the things we watch on TV, through the music we listen to, through the religion we're exposed to, through the society norms that are pushed on us through social media, through the news, and through other things. All of these things that are told from us since a child program the way we think and program us as individuals. Just think about what they call a TV. They call it a program. And this program has different channels to which you can channel different programming into your being. Now, that might be too deep for some of you, but basically, the information we're fed since a child growing up is not just coincidental. We're fed information for a reason. Now, if we're fed certain information that limits our way of thinking and puts us in a certain box, the people who control that box would be able to control us. That is why it is very difficult for some people to understand things like energy and how you have the power and how your perception controls your reality, and everything that you think exists doesn't exist in the way that you think it is. And the only way that it does exist in the way that you think it is because you think that it exists in that way. But in reality, nothing exists and everything exists at the same time. So if someone was in charge of the information we're fed since birth, then they would be in charge of our perceptions, which means they would be in charge of our realities. And if they can manipulate us into not understanding that we have the power, they could get us to live whatever reality that they want us to live that benefits them. Meanwhile, it doesn't benefit us. All right, now that I got that out the way, there's still hope for us all. There's still hope for us if we want to take back control over our realities, take back control over our lives by taking back control over our perspectives. The worst thing that they did when you were a child was tell you that your imagination isn't real. Your imagination is actually just as real, if not more real, than this reality that you live in, because scientists have proven that when you imagine certain things in your head, like let's say you're imagining getting a new job, or you're imagining acquiring money, or you're imagining being in a certain relationship, your brain releases certain chemicals, and your body reacts no differently than it would react if you actually were doing or experienced the things that you are experiencing in your imagination. And there's also something called the law of assumption. If you don't know what that is, you should look it up. It's actually a book called The Law of Assumption by Neville Gardner or something like that, I believe. I'll put the author name right here. But yeah, the book is called The Law of Assumption. And in this book, it actually talks about how if you visualize in your mind, you having an experience in the desired outcome that you want to have or experience in your reality, you actually attract and manifest that reality into your life by imagining yourself as already having it and operating and living as if you already have it. This has actually been proven many of times, but it is important to learn to control your perspective, because certain people, certain music, certain things that you watch, all of these things play a part in shaping your perspective, which plays a part in shaping your reality. So if you ever try to manifest something, or you ever try to use the law of attraction and it didn't work, chances are it's because you don't have full control over your perspective. But it's okay, because there's hope. Just how you can be preemptive programmed to live and think a certain way, you can reprogram yourself to live and think the way that you actually want to live, and the way that you actually want to think. All you have to do is actually want to change and actually want better in your life. If you're perfectly fine with how things are, then maybe this isn't for you. And that's perfectly fine, and that's okay. Continue to live your life the best way that you can and have the best perspective that you can. But if you're like me and you want to change your perspective and you want better things for yourself in life, and life, the way that we've been living it, hasn't exactly been working out the best for a lot of us, this information is perfect for you. And I'm going to give you some tools that you can use to change your perspective and to take back control over your life. Here we go. Okay, so I want you to think of a desired outcome. Think of something that you would like to manifest in your life. It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be small. Just think of something that you want that you don't have. Now, don't say like, I want a bag of chips, or fucking, I want, don't say something that you could just drive down the street and get. That wouldn't do you any justice. Actually say something that you don't have, that you've been struggling with trying to get and trying to manifest in your life. Think of something like that, and then we'll move forward. Okay, so now that you have your desired outcome in mind, we're going to do a little exercise. You need a pencil and paper, or you could use the notes in your phone. It doesn't matter. I like to use pencil and paper because when I write things down, it's easier for me to picture it in my mind as I'm actually writing it out. But you could do whatever works best for you. So I want you to write your desired outcome, the thing that you want to manifest, the thing that you want to bring into fruition into your life. I want you to write it at the top of the page or at the top of your phone, whatever you're using. Then underneath it, I want you to write as many bullet points as you can, describing anything and everything stopping you from getting your desired outcome. Now, if you feel like you're too lazy, if you feel like you don't have enough money, if you feel like you're not good looking enough, if you feel like whatever it is that you feel like is holding you back, I want you to be honest and real with yourself. Whatever comes to mind, whatever pops up in your head, write it down. It doesn't have to be a full page, but at least try to get a good 10 to 20 things written down on your paper. Now, after you write all of these things down, I want you to write an affirmation at the bottom of the page. Now, this can be shaped into whatever better fits you specifically, but something that I would write is, I release all limiting factors and all negative ways of thinking not in alignment with my desired outcome, with my highest good and my best interest. I release all of these things. They no longer have power over me. That's what I would write at the bottom of the page. You could change and manipulate that into whatever makes you feel better. Then I want you to dispose of this paper. You could rip it up, throw it away. Me personally, maybe I have issues, I don't know, but I like to set it aflame. And when the flame is going, I like to think in my head that the smoke coming from it is the energy that it has being released into the air, thus taking the power away from it. And then after that, I dispose of it, which if you decide to do that, just make sure you do it in the safest way possible. All right. After you do that, the next step is I want you to think of that same desired outcome. Um, Write it at the top of your page again, but this time I want you to write a passage in your notebook or in your phone out as if you actually have the desired outcome that you're trying to manifest in your life. So let me give you an example. Um, let's say let's say you don't like the location that you're living in and you want to move, but you don't have the money to move. I'm gonna just use an example. Let's say you want to move to California, for example, or Florida or something like that. Now, whatever it is stopping you from getting this desired outcome, it doesn't matter. Let that go. I want you to push those thoughts out of your head. When you're writing in your paper or in your phone, I want you to write as if you have the thing that you're trying to manifest, or the desired outcome. So I want you to write as if you're living in your desired outcome. If I want to move to, let's say, Florida, and I'm not living in Florida, I'm going to write out in this paper as if I am living in Florida, living in whatever house that I envision myself living in. And I'm going to write out what I see, what I smell, what I feel, my emotions. I'm going to describe it to the best of my ability as if I have it and I am experiencing it right now. Now, if it's a relationship, if it's a family, if it's whatever it may be, write it as if you have it, experiencing it right now. I want you to write that out in your notebook or in your phone. Now that you have this written in your notebook or in your phone, I want you to read over this every day, at least 2 times a day, maybe when you wake up, maybe before you go to bed. I want you to read over it. I want you to close your eyes. I want you to imagine yourself actually having your desired outcome, to the point to where you believe that you actually do have your desired outcome, and there's no need for you to try to get your desired outcome because you already have your desired outcome. I want you to read this out of your notebook or out of your phone every day, at least 2 times a day, maybe when you wake up, maybe before you go to bed. And in reading it, I want you to close your eyes and imagine that you are living in your desired outcome. There's nothing stopping me from getting what I want because I already have it. Now, this might sound crazy. It might sound difficult. It might sound delusional, but it works. And you have to believe it works, because obviously if you're doing this and you're all like, this is bullshit, it's not going to happen for you because you don't believe in it. You actually have to believe in it and live in your desired outcome every day. And in living in your desired outcome every day, your life is going to change and shape around your perception of your reality, and you're going to have your desired outcome. This is just one way and one practice that can help you change your perspective and the way that you think and the way that you experience this reality. If you believe that there's nothing that you cannot have in this life, if you believe that you are in every desired outcome that you come across in this life, then there is nothing that you cannot have or achieve, because you already have it and you've already achieved it. So, in thinking like that, it automatically transmutes and changes the energy, limiting you from being able to have, achieve, and get anything you want out of this life. So there's no excuses and any external factors limiting or preventing you from having a desired outcome. The only one that can stop you actually is you. And in thinking like this, it actually frees you from the imprisonment of thinking that your life is not in your control. Now, if everything I said sounds crazy to you, that's great. I just want you to start asking questions. Why do I think the way that I think? Why am I the way that I am? Why do I like the things that I like? Why am I scared of the things that I am scared of? Once you start asking questions, you start finding answers. Once you start finding answers, you start breaking through from limiting beliefs and limiting factors holding you back from reaching your highest capability that you can reach in this lifetime. Now, once again, before I go, if you really want to change your perspective, and in doing so, change your reality. Watch what you consume, watch what you allow into your reality, because sometimes we could have the best intentions and we could be thinking and go about things the right way, but the people who we allow into our lives, the things that we consume, go against everything that we're trying to do. And once you realize and you start walking in your true power and your true being, then you understand the importance of who you lit into your energetic field, because just how you can transmute any energy and transmute any reality based off of how you perceive it, everyone else has a capability of doing that as well. So you might be perceiving things in the best possible way, somebody else might not. And then having certain conversations with certain people, it changes how you perceive and think, which changes your reality. So really, you're so powerful. Talking to the wrong person, you might fuck around and manifest their reality into your reality just from having a conversation with them, because now their thoughts exist in your head. And even if you might not consciously believe it, it's still there and it still exists, which means it could still manifest itself. Now, real quick, before I go, I would like you to try one last exercise. I want everybody to think of something that negatively impacts them in their life. Anything. It could be a person at work. It could be a family member. It could be walking out and seeing dirty carpet, or seeing a dirty yard, or seeing a messy room, or seeing a messy vehicle. It could be anything. Just think of something that negatively impacts you and negatively impacts your emotions in your day-to-day life. Now, after this comes up, whatever this thing is, I want you to try to see if you can transmute that energy and turn that negative thing into a positive thing. Now, if you have kids, for example, and you're tired of coming home to a dirty house, you could think about the people who don't have their kids, who lost them, who never had them, who can't have them, who want them. They would give anything to be in your shoes, in your predicament, to have your problems, because your problems is their desired outcome. Now, you could do that with everything. Let's use the messy vehicle, for example, or let's just say you got a beat down vehicle, or you're not living in the best of circumstances, or you wish you had more money, whatever the case may be. I want you to think of a way that you could change that bad into a good. Just think, your bad might be somebody's greatest good, and transmute that bad energy, that quote unquote negative energy in your life, into something more positive. Try to do that with one thing every day. If you can change one negative aspect of life every day into something positive, just by what you say and how you think, your life will in turn start going in a more positive direction than a negative direction. Thank you. I hope these tools and these perspectives have impacted you in your life and maybe help change your perspective for your greatest good. Peace to you all.